Georgia Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has been caught in the act, and there is now a new ruling that has come down here today. This is in the Georgia election interference case with former President Donald Trump. And we now have a new breaking details here today. I'm going to let you hear today. And then after we go with this, we then now have even more details that I'm going to let you hear right after this. So stay tuned. Let's jump right in. This is major, major breaking news. Thank you so much for liking these videos. Here we go. Take a listen to this.
According to a report in Atlanta, Georgia, the AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, now giving word what the judge has decided. Apparently, Fani Willis can decide for her own if she wants to stay or leave the case and take Nathan Wade with her.
We understand, as you just pointed out, Bill, that this decision is in. Judge McAfee said he would give himself a 2-week deadline.
Right.
That landed on today. So we have all come to know this judge a little bit over the course of the last couple of months. His name is Scott McAfee. He did decide today, and he gave himself that 2-week deadline, as I mentioned. And the decision that he has had to make is whether to disqualify the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, in response to allegations that she was dating her lead prosecutor when she hired him. And the accusation is that that was part of a motivation for hiring him, and that then the two took some rather fancy vacations together, and that they may have benefited financially from this business arrangement, which it was alleged she created for that purpose.
So Donald Trump's team and his co-defendants say this is all a disqualifying conflict of interest. The case should be thrown out because of it. All these allegations prompting heated testimony. We watched it live. You're going to hear now from one of the first witnesses on behalf of Trump's attorneys. She's now a former friend and former colleague of Fani Willis. She was emphatic. She said she remembered the timeline and she remembered the action when she asked her questions about Nathan Wade.
And do you understand it, that their relationship began in 2019 and continued until the last time you spoke with her? Yes.
As it relates to having the 2022 relationship with District Attorney Willis, I want to say, because my marriage was irretrievably broken, I was free to have a relationship.
You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion.
Well, that is just a slice of what we got from the DA, Fani Willis, in Georgia through the course of all of this. We've got analysis from former federal prosecutor Andrew Cherkasky. But first, let's go to Jonathan Seri, who's been covering this case all along in Atlanta. Big morning, Jonathan.
Yeah, very big morning. The story is unfolding as we speak. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution is reporting that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has been ordered to either step aside or she has to cut ties with her special prosecutor in the case, Nathan Wade, before the case can go to trial. Attorneys for former President Trump and several of his associates had asked the judge to disqualify the DA from prosecuting the case. They argue Willis's romantic relationship with prosecutor Wade creates a conflict of interest. Willis and Wade have testified under oath. The relationship began after Willis hired him, but Willis also faces challenges outside the courtroom. Take a listen.
The biggest risks that Fani Willis has are political in nature. She has an election coming up, which is now contested, both in the primary and in the general election.
And as for the case itself, Judge McAfee struck down 6 counts against former President Trump and 5 of his associates, saying the prosecution failed to provide enough details on how the defendants allegedly committed the crimes. Now, if Willis remains on this case, if she remains the chief prosecutor, she'll have to decide whether she appeals that decision on the 6 counts, whether she seeks a new indictment, or whether she goes ahead and prosecutes the case on the remaining 35 charges.
Now, just hours after that decision, which is pretty recently here today. Special prosecutor resigned. That's Nathan Wade, who had the relationship with Fani Willis, the DA. He resigned just hours after the decision from the judge. And so they have admitted that they were in the relationship. She hired him as the special prosecutor. So they have admitted the relationship. She hired him. And former President Donald Trump is saying that the entire case should be thrown out and that this should disqualify the entire case. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And he's saying that they were in cahoots and that there's all this stuff that should basically disqualify the entire case. Former President Donald Trump posted a response to this on Truth Social saying, quote, "The Fani Willis lover, Mr. Nathan Wade, has just resigned in disgrace, as per his and her reading of the judge's order today. Nathan was the, quote, special in more ways than one prosecutor engaged by Fani, pronounced Fani Willis, to persecute Trump for crooked Joe Biden and his Department of Injustice for purposes of election interference and living the life of the rich and famous." This is what Trump's words are. "This is the equivalent of deranged Jack Smith getting, quote, canned. Big stuff. Something which should happen in the not too distant future." This also comes here as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and now President Biden are both calling for new elections in Israel. Yeah.
He is a former Democratic Pennsylvania congressman. I want to get to Michigan in just a second. But first of all, I want to ask you about something that Chuck Schumer said in the Senate just a little while ago about Netanyahu needing to go and that Israel needs to hold elections now. Listen to what he said.
"I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel. Of course, the United States cannot dictate the outcome of an election, nor should we try. That is for the Israeli public to decide."
Kellyanne, I mean, it's kind of interesting that Schumer would be on the floor saying that at the same time the president is going to Michigan.
That's right. It's a 45-minute speech that the highest-ranking Jewish American in U.S. history, gentlemen, delivered, calling for Israelis to overthrow its current leader. I think that Schumer is really stuck between his own sympathies and the tremendous pressure that he's encountering among the radical left wing of the party, a party that's kind of left the Patrick Murphys of the world, God bless him, for his service behind. You've got Bernie Sanders and at least 6 or 7 others saying, we're not going to give any more aid to Israel until you meet our conditions. They don't dare say condition aid at the southern border on anything. They're not even interested in that. But aid for Israel, Sanders and other communists and the socialists in the Senate are pressuring Schumer. And look, I think Republicans hit back on this very quickly, and rightfully so.
So, Patrick, to you, a recent poll in Israel that was reported out by the Jerusalem Post found that 62% of Israelis support Netanyahu's plan for Gaza. Now, a poll by the Israel Democracy Institute, which is co-founded by Home Depot's Bernie Marcus, shows that only 15% of Israelis want Netanyahu to continue as prime minister after that military operation is over. And another poll showed that Benny Gantz, who is the chief of the opposition but a member of the Unity Council, would garner more seats in the Knesset than Netanyahu if an election were to be held soon. But should Schumer be up there saying, now's the time to do it, you got to do it now? Israelis aren't saying that. Why is he?
I don't know, and I don't want to speak for the majority leader, John. And we have to be very careful as Americans to interfere. No, but we do. Listen, this year there's 60 elections across the democratic countries, including here in America, and we don't want Russia and China to interfere with our elections. So we got to be very careful. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. We got to be very careful. I get it though, and Kellyanne is right. We got to make sure that Israel has the support, that they have the absolute right to defend itself. We have to destroy Hamas, but you have to couple that with the fact that there's been 30,000 civilians that have been killed, 2/3 of which are women. And when you do that, as Kelly mentioned, as you mentioned, the 82nd Airborne Division, when I was in Iraq with them, you know, every time you kill a civilian, it generates another 5 people who are going to be radicalized. So we have to be smart about this. It's a tough balance, and I'm praying and hoping that we come to a bilateral ceasefire, and I think we're at the 1-yard line to make that happen, hopefully.
What are your thoughts? You know, you do got to be careful because no country wants to be told by another country, you need to have an election. Yeah, it's a fine line there. Imagine China or Russia or anybody else telling the U.S., yeah, you need to have an election right now, not your normal election. It's a fine line. So, yeah, obviously every country has their own problems. I'll keep you up to date here on a daily basis. New videos come out here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for liking. Share this video with anybody that needs to hear this information. Click here to see the major changes that Walmart and the Dollar Store are making, or click here to see the announcement coming on March 20th. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.